It's your boy Brian Cotton. Keep pounding. Um, you know, great win for the Panthers yesterday. But I got to get something off my chest about this whole Greg Hardy thing. The NFL needs to suspend Greg Hardy without pay for 2 games, 4 games, 6 games, whatever. Because I'm getting tired of talking about Greg Hardy when we should be talking about the Panthers and how good they've been playing so far this season. Completely defying all expectation, at least for the first 2 games. But we don't talk about that. We talk about Greg Hardy. Now, I love the Kraken. I love watching Greg Hardy play. Made a bad decision, but, for people to treat this like Ray Rice, it's completely different. I personally believe there's enough reasonable doubt in this case that he is gonna be found not guilty. There's a lot of shady things about Greg Hardy, but there's a lot of shady things about his girlfriend too. And that's not me justifying if he did hit her or choke her or whatever she said he did. But it's he said, she said. There ain't no video of what happened. But to continue to put this on the Panthers is completely unfair. It's unfair to Ron Rivera to have to make decisions like that. It's unfair to Dave Yettleman, and it's unfair to Jerry Richardson. Because if the Panthers keep deactivating him, he's going to file a grievance on the Panthers, not the NFL. And, if the NFL suspends him, say 4 games without pay, and he's found not guilty by a jury of his peers, you better believe he's going to sue the NFL. But the NFL is going to have to live with it because they made their bed and they're going to have to sleep in it because they completely just did the wrong thing with Ray Rice. It's just unfair to the Panthers. It's unfair to Ron Rivera to have to answer questions to the media about this when we should have been talking about the game yesterday. But all he hears about is Greg Hardy. And, people want to dog Ron Rivera for benching him for the game when they say, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yes, Greg Hardy played last week. If you think the right decision is for him to not play, then applaud the Panthers for benching him. But it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's all I'm going to say about Greg Hardy. About this game yesterday. I thought, the first half, Panthers did get some breaks. The Lions, even going into the third quarter, moved the ball with relative ease against the Panthers. But, it's a team game. Graham Gano made his 50-yard field goal. Nobody talks about that, though. They just want to say that the Lions should have been ahead, at halftime, whatever. It's just one of those things where the Panthers, I don't know if it's because they're a young team, they've never won a Super Bowl, but they're never going to get their just. Even when they hold the Lions offense that scored 30-something points last week, Panthers hold them to a touchdown. But people want to say that the Lions, they should have scored more. I'll say if the Panthers' offensive line was blocking a little bit better, that the run game for the Panthers would have been a lot more dominant, and Cam Newton would have had more time to throw the ball. And if Kelvin Benjamin doesn't drop those 3 passes, drive-killing passes, that the Panthers keep milking that clock. So we can go both ways with that. I'm tired of people, when the Panthers do well, it's always because the competition is inferior or they get a call from the ref or whatever. Nobody wants to give the Panthers their just due. Well, I'm going to give it to them right now. You look at the NFC South, everybody crowned the Saints. They're 0-2, lost to the Browns. The Cleveland Browns beat the Saints. And you look at the Panthers at 2-0. They beat the team that everybody thought was going to win the NFC South outside of New Orleans, Tampa Bay, pretty handedly. The Tampa Bay made a run there at the end, but it was a pretty comfortable win for the Panthers. The defense made plays when they had to. And, as that second half wore on, the pressure started to get to Matthew Stafford, and they forced turnovers. Nobody wants to talk about that, though. Lions just had a bad game. Oh, well. But, It was a great win for Carolina. Cam Newton came back. He was rusty the first half, but man, when the game was on the line and they needed him to make plays, he made plays. The defense, they gave up some big plays. They gave up some long drives. Lions didn't capitalize on them, but when the game was on the line, the Panthers started getting pressure on Stafford and they started forcing those turnovers, and that's Panthers football. That's how they play. The defense for Carolina, there's been so many times when I've seen this defense get off to a slow start, but they get better as the game goes along. Now, last week, they got a little bit worse as the game went along. Admittedly, they were up 17-0. They gave up those 2 touchdowns. But typically, the Panthers defense gets stronger as the game goes along. They don't panic. They don't, they don't lose their confidence when things go wrong. So, this is a great win for the Panthers. I love Jonathan Stewart's run. He didn't have a great game, but that touchdown run was – and he had a couple plays where he was breaking tackles. If, he can shake off that rust a little bit, then he can be, an 800, 900-yard rusher, and D'Angelo Williams add some yards in there. The Panthers are going to be all right. And how about those wide receivers? Man. Cotchery with the 2-point conversion. Jason Avant with the touchdown. I've been telling y'all, it ain't a big deal that Steve Smith ain't here no more. And especially not Ted Ginn and Brandon LaFell. Kelvin Benjamin drops passes. He's a rookie. He's going to get better at that. But you don't see Jericho Cotchery dropping passes or Jason Avant dropping passes. They're sure-handed veterans, and that's all they need. That's all they need. They're not the Saints, where they have to score so many points to win. The Panthers can win 17-10. 20-10. But it goes back to everybody wants to not respect Carolina, but it's okay. I mean, I think my team is the Panthers they're gonna take that respect. I think that getting off to this 2-0 start, we still got a long way to go, but I can only analyze what I've seen and not what I haven't seen. You look at the Seahawks giving up 30 points to the Chargers. You look at what happened to the 49ers last night. Carolina's going to be in the mix. They've got that tough stretch in the middle of the season, but, they've got the Steelers on Sunday night. That's a winnable game at home. Very winnable game. They've got the Ravens. That's a tough game at Baltimore. Steve Smith's going to be fired up for that game. The Bears, I mean, that's another tough game, but you look at Carolina, they haven't turned the ball over yet in 2 games. And that's how the Bears got back in that game, was forced a turnover. So, if the Panthers keep taking care of the ball, I mean, that's a winnable game because the 49ers were owning the Bears until they started turning the ball over. And that's what turned the game over. They started throwing interceptions, started fumbling. So, you look at the Panthers, in my predictions, I called a 5-1 start for the Panthers before that tough stretch, and I picked them to go 2-3 in that 5-game stretch. But I really believe that 5-1, just from what I've seen, somebody can still get hurt, but if there's no major injuries and Cam Newton continues to progress, a 5-1 start, like I called, I mean, I could see it happening. But, it's hard not to get excited, but it's one game at a time. We got the Steelers this week. We got to get to 3-0. And I think the Panthers will do it. I'll preview that game at some point this week. But, that's just what I want to talk about today. Great win for the Panthers. The NFL, you need to suspend Greg Hardy. Stop putting it on the Panthers to still pay this guy while he's unofficially suspended. And just keep pounding.